With the launch of Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 2 Lawless, Oninoshima has been infused with gold after the battle between Daigo and Shogun X, bringing mayhem to the island and attracting the attention of Midas, Fletcher Kane, and the Outlaws. Last season, we witnessed Hope and Jones arrive in Reality 783 in search of an artifact related to Pandora's box. The two quickly teamed up with Jade and Kendo and joined them in their investigation of how magic returned to Oninoshima. During their investigation, Jade got accidentally cursed by a demon, so she sought help from her older brother, Daigo. Daigo provided her with a magical mask in hopes that it would both protect her from the demons and break her curse. But unfortunately, Jade's curse only worsened and she ended up getting trapped in the spirit realm. Daigo couldn't forgive himself for the mistake he'd made, so he swore that he would save his sister no matter the cost. For the next few weeks, as Daigo prepared to save his sister, Hope, Kendo, and Jones continued to learn more about the re-emergence of magic on Oninoshima, until they eventually discovered that the cause of it was the artifact that Hope and Jones were searching for. And it turns out this artifact was a fragment of the 0 point which the demons had already taken. By the time they discovered this, Daigo had already set his plan in motion. Over the next couple days, Daigo opened a dormant spirit portal at Warrior's Watch. During that time, he learned many things, but most notably, he learned about a malicious dark presence within the spirit realm that was in possession of the Zero Shard. Daigo's mission had changed. Once he'd saved his sister, he sought to destroy the dark presence within the spirit realm and reclaim the Zero Shard. Eventually, the time came to save his younger sister, and using his dark chaos magic, Daigo almost immediately freed Jade. But the evil demon commander, Shogun X, stood in his way. Daigo swore he would not fail his sister again, so he took on the demon commander, and after a tense battle, Daigo successfully slayed the Shogun, finally freeing Jade from the spirit realm. Although as a result of Shogun X being defeated, the spirit portal destabilized and infused tons of gold within its surrounding area. Fast forwarding us to Season 2. The island is now swarming with greedy outlaws, all fighting to take as much gold as they can for themselves. Although there's one character who wants every single bar, and that's Midas's former acquaintance, the Baron, otherwise known as Fletcher Kane, who actually has voice lines this season. The Baron craves more power, but word of his power moves had caught Midas's attention, which is one of the reasons why Midas has returned to the island. I say one of the reasons because it turns out that the mastermind with the golden touch didn't arrive in Oninoshima just to stop the Baron. Rather, it turns out he has a much grander plan in mind. Apart from that, Hope, Jones, Kendo, and Jade are frantically trying to find a way to get into the spirit realm. But there's one problem. All the spirit portals have suddenly gone missing. Now the key to recovering the Zero Shard from the clutches of the dark presence lies in the hands of a former enemy who has just recently teamed up with Hope's crew, the Night Rose. Additionally, Jade reveals that Daigo has gone missing and that she greatly worries for her older brother. With the island plunged in mayhem, many questions have arose, such as what are Hope and Jones planning, who is Fletcher Kane, how did Midas return, and why is he here? What is Fletcher Kane's plan? What happened to Daigo? Who is the dark presence? And what should we expect in Fortnite Season 3? There's lots to explain this season, so sit back, relax, and let's unearth the mystery of the magical gold on Oninoshima. Before I begin answering the questions, if any of you want an in-depth explanation of last season's story, I highly recommend my Daigo event breakdown video. Now with that being said, let's move on to our first question. What are Hope and Jones planning? A lot had transpired after Daigo's confrontation with Shogun X. Daigo's victory against the Shogunate not only freed his sister, but also the Night Rose, who was under bondage for many centuries. As it turns out, Rose was actually binded by Shogun X, who she referred to as the puppeteer all along. When you ask the Night Rose about the puppeteer, she reveals that she used to trust the Shogun. Long ago, Rose used to train Shogun X's forces to be fast, strong, and unstoppable. This proves that most, if not all, the Oni in the spirit realm were actually good. Jade's dialogue further backs this up, where she revealed that the spirit realm isn't inherently evil, but of course, that all changed when the dark presence arrived. It binded Shogun X, and then the Shogun betrayed Night Rose, binding her against her will for many centuries. Nevertheless, now that Night Rose has regained her freedom, she's somewhat disoriented. She's been bound to Shogun X's service for so long that she completely forgot what it feels like to be free. Now, the Night Rose is just trying to figure out what to do next. Despite appreciating her newfound freedom, Night Rose is also trying her best to simultaneously help Hope and Jones with creating a plan to secure the Zero Shard. Both the Night Rose and Jones can be found at Demon's Dojo, and when you visit them, you'll realize that the two of them are actually speaking to one another in real time. From the dialogue between the two, Night Rose tells Jones she's seen very dark things in the spirit realm and that she thinks she senses something, but she's unsure, to which Jones believes that Night Rose is holding something back from him. In more Ask About dialogue from Night Rose, she tells us that she feels a growing darkness at the heart of the island. But Night Rose believes that even if she told anyone, they wouldn't believe her because she's a demon. So she truly hopes that the island is prepared for the dark days that are ahead. While Night Rose and Jones continue to work together, Hope, on the other hand, is very frantic, and reasonably so. All access to the spirit realm has been completely cut off, and the only person who may have any clue on how to breach it is the Night Rose. Not to mention, she's a demon, and only demons can enter the spirit realm, so that's another problem the team needs to find their way around in order to secure the Zero Shard. She's very worried and is trying to think of a plan, but requires the Night Rose's knowledge of the spirit realm in order to do so. Apart from that, we have an update on Kendo and Hope's relationship. So yes, I wasn't going crazy in my last storyline explained video. When you ask Kendo about Hope, he says he feels a lot more relaxed about Hope and that she really understands him. Hope has Kendo's back and Kendo has her back, and he really hopes she feels the same way. And fortunately, she does, because in Hope's Ask About dialogue, she says that back home she never met anyone who truly understood her. But Kendo, on the other hand, is different. He completely understands Hope, especially because they both have overambitious older siblings. I propose we call their ship name Cope. Get it? Because Kendo and Hope, and we all like to cope about Fortnite's story. Anyways, apart from the lovebirds, Jade's time in the spirit realm has really changed her. She's become enlightened and found her true destiny, which is to protect the island of Oninoshima. Not only that, her connection with the island has grown too. Jade understands and feels the sprites in a way she cannot explain, and she also feels a large heartbeat alongside her own, which she believes to be the heartbeat of the island itself. But despite the good news, she's terribly worried about Daigo. He's gone completely off the grid, and ever since Daigo learned about the existence of the dark presence within the spirit realm, he's become obsessed with it. Daigo believes that he can take on the darkness on his own, but Jade thinks otherwise. Jade knows that Daigo will lose against the darkness, and it will take him if he goes alone, which is why she wants to stop him, although she's worried that they may not be able to. All she wants is for her older brother to return home. Now that you're all caught up on what's going on with our characters from last season, let's move on to our next question, which asks, who is Fletcher Kane? Fletcher Kane is this season's main antagonist, who was teased last season if you visited the Goldie NPC. When you interacted with Goldie while wearing the Midas outfit, she mentioned that an old friend of Midas was making power moves. This old friend turned out to be Baron Kane. The Baron did receive voice lines this season, but we'll get to those a little bit later. After the battle between Daigo and Shogun X resulted in an explosion of gold on the island, Fletcher Kane immediately seized control of the gold. By doing so, it enabled the Baron to become the island's crime kingpin and control a vast majority of Oninoshima due to all his newfound wealth. To ensure he got every gold bar possible, Kane founded the Alpha Mining Company to extract as much gold as possible from the island, established banks to store his gold, and even establish taxes all over the island. Yes, the Fortnite IRS is real and it's ran by a furry. Of course, such greed only drew the attention of more greed, and soon crime skyrocketed in Oninoshima. So to ensure his gold is protected, the Baron founded a mafia named Alpha. He also has a merch shop with Alpha clothing, and it doesn't end there because he has two paintings that reference Leonardo DiCaprio. So he's basically just a giant meme. Aside from the funny things about Fletcher Kane, we don't know much about his background, but based on his obsession with gold, it seems Midas and Kane used to be friends because of their love for gold. When you ask Midas about Fletcher Kane, Midas confirms that the two were old acquaintances, and even when they were still friends, the Baron has always been a boastful narcissist. Even when Fletcher Kane had nothing, he always believed the world belonged to him. However, Midas revealed that over the years, Kane developed a grudge against him for always being one step ahead of the wolf, which likely led to their fallout. Midas claims that robber kings can either be the best or they will yield, and Kane will yield. Tying into our next question, how did Midas return and why is he here? We know that the explosion of gold on the island and Fletcher Kane's power moves caught Midas's attention, but quite literally everyone is wondering how he arrived on Oninoshima. Even Hope herself has dialogue with Midas where she questions how he got to Reality 783, and I have a theory as to how he got here. But in order for me to explain my theory and for us to understand why Midas is truly in Oninoshima, we first need to go over Midas's storyline quests. In the Part 3 Wanted Midas storyline quests, we finally get a better understanding of why Midas had arrived in Oninoshima. After hearing Baron Kane was making power moves in Oninoshima, Midas arrived on the island. To his surprise, his agents in Reality 783 have continued to keep the shadow briefings up and running, so he had us complete one to see if he can trust us. Once we successfully completed a briefing, Midas began to slowly trust us, so he gave us another task, which was to bribe the outlaws with gold to join his cause in the fight against Fletcher Kane. The Baron is a threat, and Midas needs all the help he can get to get rid of him. Eventually, Midas trusts us enough to tell us that he has a hunch about something, but he wants us to confirm his suspicions. Thus, we equipped a sensor backpack and scanned the mysterious energy found at Predator Peak, which Midas claimed he will recognize, and we may even too. Once we completed our scans, it turns out that the energy was actually residual energy of the 0-point shard. Midas was fascinated that a 0-point shard traveled all the way to Reality 783, revealing that he somehow knew about the artifact too. But his fascination didn't end there. Midas was also very intrigued in Daigo's mask-making book, so he had to steal it from the Thousand Faces basement and bring it to him. When we returned to Midas with the book, we talked to him about the Zero Shard. Midas reveals that the true reason why he'd arrived in Oninoshima was in search of the shard. According to him, many people are looking for it, such as himself, Baron Kane, Hope, Daigo, and many more. Midas admits that he has his own personal intentions with the shard that he won't disclose, but at the moment, the Baron and his mask maker pose the greatest threat. So since he's aligned in purpose with Hope's crew, he's willing to work with them for now in an effort to stop Daigo and the Baron. So now the cat's out of the bag. Just like Hope and Jones, the true reason why Midas came to the island is because he seeks the Zero Shard as well. Now that we finally know why Midas came to Oninoshima, how did he get here in the first place? For those who missed it, Midas's quest dialogue actually gave us more evidence that Midas was a former agent of the Imagined Order at some point. This is already a long ongoing theory of mine that I've had ever since Chapter 2 Season 6. Nevertheless, the dialogue that supports this theory are the following two lines I'm showing on screen right now. Midas told us that he specifically would recognize the energy from the Zero Shard, and that he was fascinated that a shard of the 0-point traveled all the way to Reality 783. Based on Midas's reaction, I believe that this means he has had experience with the 0-point in the past, since he recognizes the shard's energy and is shocked that a fragment of the 0-point has made it this far. But okay, maybe he was a part of the Imagined Order. How does that explain how he got to Oninoshima? Well, considering Jones had his very own rift gun during his time in the Imagined Order, I believe Midas does too, and he's kept it all this time. That's how he and Brutus were able to get here so quickly. Moving on, our next two questions ask, what is Fletcher Kane's plan and what happened to Daigo? This season, we've received voice lines for Fletcher Kane. In-game, there are now 13 separate locations where you can find a radio and eavesdrop on Fletcher Kane and his alpha guards. Take a listen.
Sir. Finally, some good news. Daigo will be pleased. We have a Midas sighting, sir. Then why are you talking and not shouting? Sir, they took your car when we were looking, and them, you know what to do. Alpha-Team 3.0 is on the move. But, sir, what's the mission here? Daigo gets the gold he needs, and I get the power he promised. That's all you need to know. I will not tolerate cowardice and insubordination. If Daigo gives you an order, you follow it. Understood? I've got a Durburger gift card for whoever puts an end to Midas. Get shooting. There are outlaws in my home. What am I paying you for? Eliminate them! The bounty on Midas just went up tenfold. If you want to become wealthy beyond imagining, bring me the man with the golden hands.
These voice lines officially confirm that Daigo is still alive and is on the island but has gone into hiding. Now Daigo is working with Fletcher Kane after they made a deal that the Baron provides him with all the gold he requires, and in turn Daigo would craft masks for his guards and guarantee Fletcher Kane more power. Although personally, I believe this is a temporary deal and Daigo will backstab Kane soon enough. I say this for two reasons. The first is because according to Midas, Fletcher Kane also wants the Zero Shard. But if you remember from last season, Daigo trusts absolutely no one with the shard and believes he is the only one who can take care of it. So he won't let Kane anywhere near that shard. The second is because at the moment, Daigo is currently working on restoring the ruinous Mask of Power from the Shattering War. Kendo gravely warned against repairing it, but Daigo is likely restoring it to aid him in his battle against the Dark Presence when he breaches the Spirit Realm. And if he restores that mask, that would make him the most powerful person on Oninoshima, and Kane would no longer be needed. Speaking of the Spirit Realm, I'm sure many of you are wondering why Daigo needs so much gold. Some of it is certainly to repair the Shattered Mask, but the rest may actually be for a giant spirit portal. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that all the spirit portals have gone missing this season. I believe that it could have been Daigo who took these portals, and now, using all the magical gold that Kane has provided him with, he will construct an enormous stable spirit portal that will allow him to breach the spirit realm and confront the Dark Presence. Segueing into our second to last question. Who is the Dark Presence? I've talked so much about this Dark Presence throughout the video, but who do I think it is? For those of you who've watched my last video, you know that I personally don't believe it's the Nothing. Based off of what we know about the Nothing and the fact that it's just a hive mind with a voice, it just doesn't make any sense to me for the Dark Presence to be the Nothing. And that was sort of it. I theorized it was a new character, but I was unsure who or what this new character may be until recently. While looking at character descriptions, I noticed something very interesting about Nemia specifically. In her description, it says she attends Asmodeus U, which is short for university. Out of curiosity, I searched up what Asmodeus means, and it turns out to be the name of the King of Demons. As of now, there hasn't been a single mention of such a character in Fortnite's storyline yet, so it got me thinking, what if this could actually be the Dark Presence? To me personally, it's interesting that the university in the spirit realm is named after the King of Demons. It could have been just to match with the whole theme of the Oni and nothing more. But if it isn't, then that means there is a demon king within the spirit realm, and Nema's description could be a teaser hinting towards that. If Asmodeus does exist within the spirit realm and is the Dark Presence, that would explain how Daigo was able to feel its overwhelming presence. It's the ruler of the spirit realm, which means it likely holds the most power. Leaving us with one last question, what should we expect in Fortnite Season 3? According to leakers, Chapter 6 Season 3 is meant to be a mini-season themed around Star Wars. For those of you who followed my channel for a while, most of you know I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I'm incredibly excited for next season. But I know some people are worried for the story because they believe it won't make any sense. However, there's no need to fret because we actually have good news. Chapter 6's story has been extremely coherent and connected. Charlie Wen and the writers are doing a phenomenal job so far, so I'm pretty confident that this is going to continue. But the actual good news is that leakers explicitly confirm that the Star Wars season will be connected to the storyline. So yes, the story is still going to be connected and will make sense. Although how will Star Wars tie into the story? Well, as always, I have a theory for that. The mask maker of the Fox clan is the one who created the ruinous mask of power that Daigo is currently repairing beneath the Thousand Faces shop. For those who don't know, the Fox clan's masks give their users the unique ability to open up sideways rifts and travel to different realities at command. With that in mind, if Daigo will utilize the dangerous mask from the Shattering War, I think he may accidentally open a rift to the Star Wars reality while using the mask. The rift could be a consequence of Daigo opening up his own spirit portal to enter the spirit realm and confront a dark presence, as I had mentioned earlier. In addition to that, since Palpatine isn't in game yet, it would be a perfect opportunity to make him the main villain for next season. Once the rift opens up, Palpatine could feel a disturbance in the Force, both because of the rift and the seductive power of the 0-point shard calling him. This would immediately draw Palpatine's attention. Then his next course of action would likely be to bring his Imperial fleet to investigate Oninoshima and search for the Zero Shard. What do you guys think? If you'd like to stay up to date with Fortnite's storyline, make sure to subscribe. And that wraps it up for the entire Chapter 6 Season 2 storyline explained. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one, Lore Keepers. Take care.